it's different being in this phase of my life where like before, like at one point you're just like, fuck, any opportunity, I'll take anything. And then you get to the point where you're like, you understand your strengths, your skills. What we do as veterans is really minimize our lived experience when we get on the outside for a long time until you have that great awakening. You have that ability to see like, oh, wait a second, I may not fit the role of conventional hire for this, but I'm a fucking badass when it comes to this because I learned how to do it from having to watch other people's success and analyze it and study it.
Back in my 20s when I was, I'm actually doing a school project on this. So like you and I are similar. We're both going to school. Like we have multiple sources of income. And so it gives us that leeway to say, no, I don't want to take this opportunity. Because I remember back in my 20s when all I was doing was working full time, starting out my professional career. And like my resume wasn't that extensive. And every job interview I had, I placed so much like credence on whether or not I got that job. And then if I didn't, I was crushed. But then if I did get it, I was like, woo. But now like lately I've been interviewing for jobs too. And I'm not doing aggressively like I was because I'm kind of like, maybe I'll return to work soon, maybe I won't. But if they shut me down, then that's cool. There's plenty of other opportunities out there.
Sheen, welcome back.
Glad to be back. Super glad to be back, actually. So
yeah, dude, it was one of those episodes where I was editing. It was late at night, 2 a.m. and I'm editing. I'm like, man, fuck, I didn't really do a good job leading us down this discussion. Like, there's more meat on this bone. I didn't want people to take away from him and be like, fuck, man, he really dropped the ball. He didn't really discover it. Everything that Sheen had, you served up a lot of friggin' dingers, and I just missed, man. I was at bat and missing. But now more than ever, we're being reminded that the political space is absent of veteran voices, individuals that really care about what's going on in our country. And one thing from our first attempt that I didn't focus on was your attempts of getting in there, being willing to get in at the local level to change things. And that's something that a lot of people, especially our young veterans, are trying to do right now. So, dude, let's dive into your story. Take us all the way back before your attempts of getting into the local movers and shakers in the political realm. Tell us about Sheen, man. How did Sheen grow up, and how did he find himself in the service?
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I'm actually excited that we're doing this episode again because it's, like you said, reflecting and going back. And I made the mistake, and that's another thing I've learned in my 30s. Hey, I messed up too. I rambled too much, and I have this. When I got excited in the episode, I was kind of rambling, and I was like, I needed to
rambling's good.
Yeah, I needed to open it up for you to answer more questions.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, so I'm Sheen Mayberry, veteran of the Army and Navy. I was a guardsman reservist the whole time for 13 years overall. Grew up in rural Florida, a little town called Okeechobee. I think you and I discussed that because you're in Florida too, right?
Yeah. So right now I'm temporarily removed from Florida. I'm up in Alabama, but I know Central Florida pretty well because my roots, my early years of a transplant and a hard-earned American citizenship. I lived in Paisley, Florida, growing up for a few years. A lot of people think of Florida as this like bustling urban area, and they always think Orlando, Disney World. There's a lot of rural areas in Florida. And one of those tiny places that was an absolute hellscape and shithole was Paisley, Florida. I'm proud I escaped it. Glad I don't live there. And I don't care how well it's developed. And if you're listening right now and you happen to be of Paisley, Florida, fuck you. No, I'm going to edit that out.
No, I mean, there's a lot of podunk towns in Florida that you drive through. Like every time I go to Florida, well, I generally take the same route, Turnpike, I-95, you name it. But that you can discover new places in Florida. And but yeah, starting out, so I was born in Palm Beach County, Florida. Grew up with my mom, and my dad and my mom, they split up when I was 4. So my dad lives in Broward County. He and I are pretty close now. But my mom divorced my stepdad when 7, so she let me sent me to go live with my grandma in good old Okeechobee, Florida, Fort Drum, Florida. So I grew up a little bit in Palm Beach, knew Palm Beach well, went to go move to Fort Drum, Florida. And then I was also growing up, I was pretty involved on the Treasure Coast, like Vero Beach, Fort Pierce, just because church was there, school, you name it. So grandma, didn't have a lot of money growing up. She was retired. Her late husband, who had passed away, retired from South Florida Large Management. So she had like a combined income of like Social Security, his retirement. So, I never went without, and I had a good wholesome upbringing, I would say, very sheltered for sure. But she instilled in me, hard work. Like I was 7, 8 years old out in Fort Drum, Florida, cutting down trees, mowing the grass. And it was in the summers, it got really hot, but I look back on it with some fondness. I actually went and visited a few years later before she passed away. And I would realize it was such a humble upbringing because I grew up in this she called it a modular home, but it's basically a trailer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, there's fancy ways to church up trailer talk.
Yeah. But my neighborhood was really unique because next door, this family bought it and they built like a new McMansion. It was like during the whole housing crisis. So this family moved in, they build this McMansion. They then get pretty much fucked, due to the whole financial crisis. So the owner of the Golden Corral in Okeechobee, Florida, bought that house. And so we had them next door, halfway down the street. I used to, as a kid, I'm out and about, riding my bike or whatever. There was, I didn't realize this until later, but I would walk by this trailer and there's dogs and barbed wire and you smell these chemicals. I realized later he was cooking some kind of something.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. And so really interesting area. And then there was some gossip in the neighborhood. There was like this little airstrip nearby. And later my friend and I were watching a documentary about the whole like Colombian drug thing, whatever.
Yeah.
We have a sneaking suspicion that there was drug runners flying into that airstrip and then taking it down to South Florida.
Oh, bro. 100%. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
If your neighbor's cooking chemicals in a remote part of Florida, chances are you're not stretching the truth to believe that. Yeah, man. Yeah.
But growing up, I had the full rural experience. I was a kid digging trenches and foxholes of what I thought military was. I wanted to join the military from a young age. So fast forward, Florida Army National Guard, which I know you and I are both acquainted with.
Yeah.
I joined the split training option. It took for forever because my grandma, that was during the height of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. And so me being 16 at the time, all I wanted to do was deploy. Like I was watching the news. I was jealous of seeing the soldiers in their ACUs, getting all this glory. And I was like, dude, I want to be that. If there was an option for me at that time to be 16 and I was like, hey, I'm going to negotiate with the military. Let me finish basic and send me over as like a non-MOS. I'll do it. I didn't know the full spectrum. So I joined the split training option as an 11 Bravo. It took forever for my grandma to sign the parental consent because she didn't want me to go to the front lines. And then finally she did agree. But go to MEPS, and you know how it is. Like you were 18 series, right? That's all you want to do. Go to MEPS and the recruiter's like, hey, you got color blindness, so you can't be an 11 Bravo. And I'm like, oh man. You know how it is, right?
Yeah.
Like you were 18 series or did you start out as 11 Bravo? Like
I was when I first started when I was a kid, when I went to the Guard, I was a 95 Bravo. Back then that was an MP. And then I reclassed and went active duty later on. But yeah, man, same thing. You're a kid. And the thing that I always tell people, I feel like the National Guard is predatory because it makes it seem like it's just as good as everything else. And dude, when you're a kid, like I had very like similar circumstances, but like I was already out of the house. I ran away from home, and that National Guard paid even when I was in high school. They paid for drill weekend, so I was like, shit, I think at the time it was like $200, $270 or something as a kid in high school when I went down for drill weekend. So I saw that as like, dude, that's groceries, dog. Like, that makes no sense. But at the same time, like, and you let me know, like, if once you get in the Guard and you're young, it feels like you're getting cheated. It feels like you're not quite there. You're not, and it's like deployments aren't coming like you see on TV, and it's like, what the fuck? I thought this was the Army. I thought this was the main deal.
No, I mean, you're absolutely right. So like,
This episode of Security Halt is brought to you by Dr. Taylor Bosley and Precision Wellness Group. Let's be real. By now, a lot of New Year's resolutions have already fizzled out. Life gets busy, motivation drops, and health ends up on the back burner. But here's the truth. There's no better time to start than right now. Precision Wellness Group specializes in hormone optimization and hormone health, delivering personalized care and treatment right to your door. If you've been dealing with low energy, brain fog, or sleep, or stalled performance, hormone imbalance may be the missing piece. Dr. Taylor Bosley and his team take a data-driven, individualized approach to help you get back to operating at your best. Security Halt listeners receive 25% off their initial consultation when they use Security Halt 25 at checkout. Click the link in the episode description to find out more and get started today.
My recruiter comes back to me. He's like, well, we can do 27 Delta or 88 Mike. And I was like, I honestly, looking back, I should have gone with 27 Delta because they would attach me to the MP unit out of Fort Pierce. That was the armory I enlisted out of. But I was like, yeah. The recruiter's like, well, 88 Mike's basically infantry. Like, you're going to do convoys. And I'm like, I guess, whatever. So I reluctantly sign up. I was so crushed. I didn't have an 11 Bravo contract. That's what I want to do. And then, I go to basic and all that. And I come back to do the RSP thing. And I remember it hit me so hard being 17 was that at RSP, we had a lot of 11 Bravos that were recruiters, and they also sent a couple of the recruiters to drill sergeant school. They were all 11 Bravos, and they would just be like, "You're pogued, you're not infantry." And it kind of stabbed me in the heart because I wanted that 11 Bravo contract. But no, like it did feel like I was being short a little bit because I finished up my AIT and all that good jazz, and then I enrolled in my local community college, which is why I'm in school now because I didn't do well. But
same exact
yeah.
thing. They got us, Sheen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm making like $200, as a E3, E4 at drill. Yep. I got my $600 1606 GI Bill, which, hey, praise the Lord for the post 9/11 now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like my unit had just come back from Iraq, so they all had their combat patches, which they had all fallen under the South Carolina National Guard. But it was like I did. It was like I was looking around at my unit, and they were, look, they're good people, right? I mean, there was definitely some folks there that were like, "You're kind of overweight, This is not what I signed up for. I pictured myself going to I want to be an infantry unit, maybe try out for the scout sniper, and like here I am doing PMCS on busted up PLS trucks."
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, like I felt I felt like it was good money, but like for a weekend gig. But
yeah,
I definitely developed some attitudes that bit me in the ass later.
Oh, dude, yeah, it's so easy. You take a good kid, put him in an environment, and the veneer, the facade kind of like falls off, and then you see, like you said, you see the individuals that aren't quite soldier material. Not trying to hit on you guys in the guard. Please don't take it that way. It's just, it's one of those things. You have an idea what it's going to be, and then it's not that, and you can spiral. You can quickly become very jaded.
Yeah, no, and I mean that's exactly what happened to me. Like, so like this is where my story turned a little bit dark, but I did bounce back.
We love that. Dive into that. This is that's the meat right there. That's meat and potatoes right there.
Yeah. So this was before I jumped into the whole political thing or whatever. But like, so how it is, you come back from training. And in my head, I was thinking like, dude, I graduated Army basic training from Fort Jackson, and I'm an 88 Mike. And I was like living at home at the time, going to school. I was failing my classes because I'd met my first girlfriend. That's distracting me. And I'm trying to apply for jobs at the time, like anything, like, hey, Wendy's or like Publix, whatever. And nobody was biting. I finally got a job at Wendy's, but I got fired because 3 weeks because again, I'm distracted. And so, So my grandma ends up kicking me out in like 2012. Oh, and before this too, my dad had given me this like Mercedes car.
Oh shit!
So I never transferred it, and then I got a ticket. I didn't pay the ticket. My license gets expired, or gets suspended. I'm sorry. These credit cards that I'm not paying off because I maxed them out, they get sent to collections, and then I have like no income. And then the VA comes back and they're like, "Hey, you were skipping classes. You owe us money." So then I don't have that, and my drill pay is being taken. So
Damn.
so everything.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yep. So I'm like thinking, so I'm an E4 at the time. I got promoted fairly average, but like, I'm like, dude, this is the only thing I have. So she kicks me out. I ended up walking from Okeechobee down to, I was trying to reach my unit in West Palm Beach. And I'd called them before and I was like, look, this is my only option. Like, I don't know where else to go. And they're like, my platoon sergeant, she was also one of the 42 Alpha. She's like, yeah, come on down. I walked for like 20 miles that night. And I was still wearing my ACU pants and the weird tan shirt we had at the time. You probably remember the ACUs.
Oh, yeah.
That old.
Oh, I remember them fondly. Ugh.
Yep. So Martin County Sheriff stops me. They're like, we got a call from a lady. She thought you were a kid. I looked so young then. She thought I was like some high schooler that,
To add insult to injury, you're a runaway kid.
Yep. So luckily, the deputies, there was a sergeant in my platoon that he was a deputy sheriff on that same agency. And I mentioned, I'm like, hey, do you know Sergeant so-and-so? And the deputy knew him. And he was like, hey, I'm going to call him real quick. He calls him and he's like, oh yeah, this adds up. And he put him on the phone. He's like, I'm talking to the sergeant. He's like, look, Mayberry, like whatever's going on, like, don't worry, we got you. I'm going to call the unit. So the police, they're so cool. They give me a ride to the Palm Beach County line, and this is like down in like Okeechobee, like the sugar canes, like Pahokee or wherever and they then give me a drive. Palm Beach County Sheriff then gives me a drive to the unit because like they had to stop by the prison that was over there anyway, but they were like super cool. And so the unit ends up helping me out. They're like, hey, we're going to get you placed with like this veterans organization, which I wasn't really a veteran at the time. I was a slick sleeve E4 with like 2 years in. But they helped me out. They placed me in like this like kind of home with this lady out in Wellington, Florida. Super nice house. And I didn't realize this though until later. So she gave me a room and I'm thinking like, dude, I'm in like the suburbs of like Wellington, like the world is my oyster. Well, I started this crappy job selling like windshields door to door. And I actually started like doing pretty well at it. Like basically it got me out of my comfort zone. I was talking to people. I came fairly decent. But then she gave me a bill like 2 weeks later of like, hey, end of the month, you got to pay this. And it's like a lot of money. I don't have the money for this. So I ended up moving out of that and moved in with like 6 coworkers in Palm Beach, Florida. I'm sleeping on the floor, like, and I'm thinking like, can it get any worse than this?
And oftentimes when you say that and you put it out loud into the universe, it tends to get worse.
Yep. Yep. And it is fun in retrospect. I look back on it, I'm like, I'm so glad I went through that. So I start missing drill like an idiot. And this guy, like, I have mixed feelings on him because I understand he's like a company commander. He's got a job. Oh, sorry, my computer unplugged. He's got a job to do, but slick sleeve company commander. He originally had been like one of the rear det leader when the unit deployed. And he starts busting me down. And I get it. He's got to impose his command, right? At the same time, like I'm going through things. I remember checking my pay and it busted me down E4 to E3. And I'm just crushed. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to skip drill. So I ended up skipping drill. I'm working this crappy sales job. We end up relocating to Orlando to the main office. And the guard ends up chaptering me out. They end up chaptering me out. So I ended up getting away from that group of coworkers just they were bad influence. I was partying a little bit too much, just not focused on the right things. I'm like, I want to make a change for the better. Like the past year and a half, everything has gone downhill. Clearly, whatever I'm doing is not working out. So I moved in with a buddy of mine in Orlando, Florida. A buddy of mine I actually knew from the 88 Mike unit. He got chaptered out for height and weight. So anyway, guard chapters me out. I ended up working at Home Depot. And then this is where I started getting into the political work.
Yeah.
So some stuff happens with that friend. He was like mismanaging some money. So I ended up moving out of there. So I ended up, by this point, it's like summer 2013. And this is a summer where it all turns around. So mind you, at this point, I'm chapter out of the guard on all the Army websites. It says I'm an E1. I'm working at Home Depot. and I had applied to University of Central Florida, which somehow I got accepted. And so I'm sitting there in this nice lake house in what county is that up there? Just north of Orlando.
This episode of Security Halt is brought to you by Dr. Mark Gordon and Millennium Health Store. If you've listened to this show, you know how seriously we take brain health, recovery, and long-term performance, especially for veterans and high performers. Dr. Mark Gordon is one of the leading experts in neuroendocrinology and traumatic brain injury. And he's just released his new book, Peptides for Health. Both the medical edition, Volume 1, and a consumer edition, Volume 1, are available right now. The book breaks down how peptide therapy supports brain health, hormonal balance, recovery, and resilience in a way that's practical and evidence-based. You can get 25% off the book by using code PTH25 at checkout, valid through March 15th. And for Dr. Gordon's proprietary health products, Security Halt listeners can receive 10% off if they use the code PHASE2P. Click the link in the episode description to find out more and visit Millennium Health Store today.
It's not Orange County. It's the one north where Ocoee and all that is, or Oviedo. Well, anyway, that. So I'm like, you know what? I'm looking up in the internet, and this was before we had Gemini and ChatGPT and all this bullshit. And I'm like, how can I get back in the Army? And I see this article of like, yeah, you can get back into the reserve through a loophole. So I'm like, yeah, fuck it, I'll try it. Because I'm sleeping on, I'm renting this room for $300 a month. I only have my Home Depot money. I feel like a piece of shit for getting chaptered out of the guard. So I go and visit this career counselor. And so, and mind you too, during this time, I was driving around on my 49cc scooter, which gets stolen from Home Depot. So like yeah.
This is, I gotta tell you, man, I've heard this is not good.
Dude, it couldn't get any worse. Every time I turn around, like, it's like, I'm losing this. I'm getting kicked out of here, whatever. So, and this whole time I'm living off of like $800 a month, if that. So I ride a bike 20 miles down to visit this Army Reserve career counselor. On the phone, he's like, you seem like a good guy. I'll hear you out. I show up all sweaty. And he's like, all right, so tell me your story. I'm like, look, I was in the guard. I'm going AWOL from drill. He's like, all right, I'll look it up. He looks in the system with the other career counselor. They're like, oh, they didn't fuck you. They're like, they just chaptered you out. They put you in IRR and your RE code was okay. So like, you're good. Like, we'll find you a unit. Like, he's like, but here's the thing. I'm about to retire. So whatever unit I put you in, you're going to be the last succession I make. So don't fuck it up. I'm like, all right, yes, Sergeant, I got you. So we go to visit civil affairs. There's like this huge reserve compound with all these units. They won't take me. They're like, what does this guy have to offer? He's like an E1 that's got like, we're not taking him. Okay. And I'm like, fuck, I want to be civil affairs. Cause I'm in my head, which you probably worked with civil affairs a lot. In my head, I thought civil affairs were these badasses that were like kicking in doors and stuff like that. But I don't know what, you probably know more about them than I do.
Oh yeah. Civil affairs is part of special operations and they're made up of some great dudes. They have a very different mission set. They often fancy themselves as the foreign civil dignitary guys that can do both kicking indoors and speak eloquently. And no shade to civil affairs, fucking Green Beret. But I love those guys. Those guys are awesome. They have their own mission. They have their own talents, and they're part of the brotherhood, man. They do some great stuff. I have had the personal pleasure of working alongside some amazing individuals that were part of civil affairs. Great dudes, great gals too. Great individuals, and I can't say enough good stuff about them. Unlike PsyOps, I can't say anything good about PsyOps, and you know why. I'm just playing. No, but civil affairs would have been a great friggin' path for you, man. That stinks. Well, that stinks.
I was able to do some cool stuff in the Navy later, but I'll get to that. But 88 Mike unit takes me. They're like, yeah, fuck it, we need people. So I show up to the unit. And then I started going to drill, and to close out that part of the story, basically, they promoted me back to E4 within a year. It was a good unit. It was good people. My sergeant, when I showed up, he's like, how long have you been in? At this point, like 3 or 4 years. And I was an E1. And he's like, yeah, just keep your head down. They made me the company guide on dude, whatever that promoted me. And I have nothing to say but thank you to those people. Like, I showed up, I kept my head down. But so this is where it starts getting into political stuff. So that later that fall, things were heading in the right direction. I got a new scooter. Yay.
We have to emphasize that. That
Yeah.
is things. Sheen is looking up. Things are going great. Got back in the guard. Got the E4, and to put icing on the cake, he got a new scooter.
Got my new 49cc scooter. So, so I'm at a college Republicans meeting at UCF, and they had a rep come in from Americans for Prosperity. It's one of the freedom partners. They were like, "Hey, we're hiring door knockers for $10 an hour. Who wants a job?" And I had just gotten fired from Home Depot. I won't go into that, but
Wait. No. We're going. We brought you back. Let's go. We got to circle back. What happened at Home Depot?
Yeah, so Home Depot. I'm trying to remember. Yeah. So I'd gone to drill. So I worked Monday through Friday. I got up early every morning at like 3 to go to work. I was like this was back before this other team took it over, but I was the dude that basically did inventory and scanned the labels.
Yeah. Everything that comes in. I used to work at Ace Hardware, so I know about order day and managing and having to. That's a pain in the ass, man. Bringing everything in on freight day it's funny how many things intersect. So when I was, on my own in high school, I'm a senior having to pay for room and board, make ends meet. I would take those late shifts. I would come in late at night to do freight night and scan everything in and process all the orders and restock the shelves at the Windsor Ace Hardware. Yeah, I couldn't, but I couldn't have done it without that job. It's a big reminder of all these things that when you look back on, you're like, fuck, I have to do this. Like, no, you get to do it. You get to do it. God isn't just going to give you whatever you're praying for. Those $200, those $300, like that made a difference back then, man. Like the shift work that you had to do to get to where you're at today. It's a blessing. We don't see it then, but now definitely, man. Like getting up at 3 where you were, I would imagine you were riding your scooter in.
So yeah, before I bought so I got gained back to the Army Reserve, and then I had some extra money, so I bought a $400 scooter. But that whole summer there, I was riding my bike into work every day. Yeah. But yeah, basically, as far as how I got shit canned, what was it? So it's a Friday. I ended to work. I go to drill that weekend, and I come back Monday. And so, like, any 21-year-old, I'm not investing in sleep. So I'm in work, and actually, here's what had happened. They had eliminated that position, so they moved me over to lumber department. And I didn't want to be in one of the customer departments because like you got to answer questions and all that. And lumber sucks. Like it's funny now because now I'm a CB carpenter or was, and like I know how to do this shit like the back of my hand. But I'm dealing with all these contractors, and like they're very abrupt, and I'm fairly abrupt and well, I can't be obnoxious now, but like this guy like snapped his fingers at me, and I got so upset. I'm like, "Don't you snap your fingers at me?" And they fired me. Like, nothing, no fight or anything happened. It was just a little argument. But the Home Depot, they don't fuck around. Like, they fired me, and yeah, that's how it.
It's the customers, the customer service stuff, man. Like, cause and you kind of looking back, I bet you probably understand it, but in the moment, it's hard because it's like, fuck, dude, I needed this.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's where politics comes in.
All right, well, take us back there. So you're at UCF, and then you start meeting. And did you just volunteer for this? Was this a student initiative? What got you involved?
Yeah, so I'd run into the college Republicans during the net because obviously I'm fired from Home Depot. I don't have shit to do, so I spent all day at school. So I'm in the student union, or it's like the outdoor where all the tables are. And I met the college Republicans. They're like, hell yeah, come down to a meeting. They're all super cool. I go to the first meeting, and a representative from Americans for Prosperity there, which AFP, I've actually been interviewing with them lately for a couple of roles. Going back, but the rep comes in. They're like, hey, we're hiring. The midterms are coming up. We're hiring $10 an hour. Come knock doors. I'm like, well, yeah, let's do that. It's more than I made at Home Depot. So I show up to this nondescript office in downtown Orlando, and it's like awesome. You go in, there's snacks, there's coffee. Like I'm learning about politics. Like this isn't like Home Depot where like people are like from all different walks. Like these are like political people. The thing I noticed is most of my coworkers, they're all college students, but they all had like, they came from some means. Like people were showing up in cars, like, their parents are paying for their apartments. And so I was probably, you know, I didn't have what the other people had.
Yeah, completely. You can start to tell, like, well, like, this is like I'm at the other end of the spectrum.
Yep. So I'm like, you know what? This is my golden ticket. Everything up until this point, it's all falling apart. And I was like, if I can come back into Army the way I did, I can take this and turn it into something. And so I did my internship there. That internship turns into a part-time job, and there was some ups and downs. Like there was a while they ran out of funding. I had to battle out, and I actually found one of the field directors, the full-time guys that was the territory over, had a position open, and I biked 20 miles and got the job from him. It was narrow there. Like I was like, how am I going to pay my bills? So narrow.
Never fail. There's one thing I'm taking away from this story. If there's a chance, Sheen's gonna get on his bike and he's going for it.
Yep. Yeah, I had some jack quads nonetheless. But yeah, so I'm there for 2.5 years. And I'm like highly energetic. I definitely rubbed some feathers, but I was able to push it out. So Chris Hudson, who's the state director at the time, and I have a lot of thanks to this guy. And so probably you being in Florida, the guy that's running for governor now, Byron Donalds.
Yep.
Chris Hudson is his campaign manager now, which I think is really cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless I'm mistaken, but thanks to Chris. So Chris believes in me. He's like, hey, listen, there's 2 criteria I need you to meet before I promote you to full-time. Because in my head, I wanted to be a field director. I wanted that full-time job, $40,000 a year. It's a hell of a lot better than sleeping on the couch making $1,000. He's like, I need you to get a car, and I need you to start getting volunteers on the door for door knocking. And so I go and I meet that criteria. And needless to say, I had coworkers that helped me along the way with various things. But 2015, 2 years later, I get a full-time job offer after an interview. And that's where I start getting into politics. So I take over the Gainesville, Ocala, Villages region. And at the time, I was still living in Orlando. I rented a room for my friend, but I'm driving up there every day. But like everything changes. Like, so not only am I starting to get involved in politics, I'm meeting all these big players, right? Like, I'm starting to become a full-time professional. So like they send me my work laptop, my work phone. I'm getting consistently nice paychecks every 2 weeks. My standard of living is going up. And so I was in that role for like 2.5 years, and it was cool because I got involved in Florida politics. Like, and you find out about politics that like politicians are just like us. Like the average person looks at politics and they think like this elected official, they're way up there.
Yeah.
These people are only 2 or 3 phone calls away.
And what were you doing for them? What was the specifically like? What was you would say like the actual like day-to-day job?
Yeah. So starting out when I was part-time, I was strictly knocking doors. Like, you have your field director, which is your full-time guy. He generally has 3 or 4 part-timers, and they're going out there knocking doors, or if it's raining, they're making phone calls. And you're trying to get people to go out and vote. So I did that for 2.5 years. Then as a part-timer, I started getting involved. I was going to meetings. I would go to meetings to recruit people, getting a little bit more of that field director. I was trying to position myself to be a field director. Then when you become a field director, the field director they're in charge of an assigned area. So like for me, I had 6 counties, and your goal there is you're going to go to meetings, you're going to promote the organization. If need be, you'll interface with state and local reps on the local level to build relations with them. And then you're also managing that part-time team and also those volunteers. So the goal is, it's almost like being a force multiplier, which I know but you go into the territory, you build up your enablers, and then you're
just trying to generate as much support and backing for whoever, is running for office. And is that generally what you would say?
Yeah, and then for us in this case, we were a nonpartisan organization with conservative leanings, and the organization changed now. But our goal ultimately was we were trying to get volunteers, part-timers out there to interface with voters, so that way we could get data. And ultimately, leading into the 2014 election and 2016 elections, we were trying to flip Florida so that way.
Got it.
Yeah. So think of it. The cool thing about AFP is that you've got both parties. since AFP, I always say about the conservative side, conservatives, we have much more funding than the left because we have all these special interest groups, right? Which we can get into that later about my thoughts on that. But not only do you have the RNC, but you've got the Koch network organizations out there knocking doors, making phone calls, sending direct mail. And so you're basically the regional rep for those counties.
Yeah. That brings in like a lot of my because I've in my old age, the less government, the better. And I really fucking hate lobby groups. I really hate outside entities getting involved. And it fucking floors me these days to see the amount of power that that corporations have when it comes to raising funds, man. I feel like how do you feel being in this space and saying like, because if you ultimately, it boils down to money. It boils down to who has the most reach, penetration in the area, and who's got the most money. Do you ever feel like you've you've seen way too much of how things run on the backside to ever feel like you really truly believe in the government anymore?
No, I mean AFP, and I don't mean this. I believe very much in freedom of speech, so I will speak my mind because I don't work for anyone right now, and it doesn't matter if I do work for somebody and they get offended, then don't hire me, fire me, whatever. I have my freedom of speech, and what are you gonna do? Fire me? Cool. But no, with like AFP, for example, what I realized was a lot of these organizations, they have a stranglehold on the state legislatures. Like AFP Florida, we had the Republican House majority in the Florida House and the Senate. Um, the lobbyist on our side, which is usually the state director, the deputy state director, they have very good relationships with these folks. And so, for example, that organization, one of the means that they hold legislators accountable to their agenda is that during the election cycle, they will help try to get that person reelected. Then once the election's over, and before that, in the primary season, right? If there's a primary season and you've kind of pissed off one of these well-funded organizations, they'll send direct mail. They'll send people to knock on the door to either attack or promote the other candidate. And so then let's say once the election's over, you go into a session where they're passing the bills. They'll use some fairly draconian tactics to try to intimidate lawmakers, not in like a physical sense, but like, we would do things like, okay, Senator X or House Member B voted against this. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have our entire staff and volunteers call into their district, and then we'll talk to voters, and then we'll connect those voters to their office. So now their office is getting flooded with calls left and right. And guess what? According to the law, these legislators have to respond. So I don't know the nuts and bolts of it, but that's like one of the things. Or secondly, you look at like direct mail. Let's say you vote against a certain bill and the special interest group, they don't like it. They'll just send out 20,000 of pieces of direct mail in your district. And so my viewpoint on it is like, it's me having been in political work. I haven't done it for 5 years, but I was getting a little jaded at just how much money is in it.
Yeah, dude. That seems pretty fucked.
Yeah. So that was the special interest side, and then I went on to go into the campaign world of Republican politics, which everybody knows everybody's the same. But, I went out to Nevada for a bit. When Harry Reid retired, I worked on the NRSC's project out there right after that. Then after that, I went to Virginia. I was Dave Bratt's political director on his campaign. And so I was getting a little bit of good experience there. After that, I went back to Florida for a bit after 2016. During the 2016 election, I just got so burnt out. I took a year off. So I went to go work for a nonprofit. Nonprofits, that's a whole nother set because I'm used to having unlimited money, and I go into a nonprofit. Everybody's liberal. Nobody knows how to run anything. Like, at least on campaigns, like, people have a gusto and they're professional. Yeah. These nonprofits, like, dear God, it's so dysfunctional.
Yeah, I've seen that there's a misconception out there when it comes to the nonprofit space. I had it for a long time. I thought, like, holy shit, all these organizations have to be run by individuals that know exactly what they're doing, well-oiled machine. And then you see you see one that is ran by two people, and it's just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Like, and everything's just last minute, hurry up and do this, or just wild harebrained ideas, and it's like, holy fuck, like you guys need a lot of help. Like it's crazy. It's crazy but they're well known, right? They're established out there. They're trying to do good, but I feel that coming from the military, you have an appreciation for like well planned out processes, like phases of an operation. And when you run into some of these other organizations that aren't being managed appropriately, that maybe have like a very loose idea of how to do day-to-day operations, it kind of blows your mind. You're just like, fuck, how are you surviving?
Oh, absolutely. Like so after I left AFP, I did a couple of races in 2016 and I took a break. So I got a job offer for Epilepsy Foundation in Florida, South Florida. And, about 40, 50 people in the organization statewide, good people. It was a little liberal for me, but the lady that hires me, she'd come from like corporate sales or something. And good person. But she was the director of development. So they hired me as the development coordinator. And she didn't know what she was doing. And the bosses, the people out in Miami who were in charge, they didn't give her any guidance. They didn't like her. And so for me, yeah. And so for me, I kind of had to figure out on the fly. There was no training program. There was nothing. They're just like, go. So I'm managing the fundraising. I hit all my benchmarks. And then during this time, this is when I started figuring out local politics. And so I joined the Chamber of Commerce, Palm Beach North Chamber of Commerce. I'm in Palm Beach County, so like the president's backyard, like uh, doing Chamber of Commerce, like and so I'm going to all these meetings. I'm meeting all these people,
Yeah,
and
and I wanna pause right there and reflect something that's kind of related, but any veteran entrepreneur out there, get plugged into your local chamber of commerce. Get plugged in to your local chamber of commerce. If you're trying to find clients, network, just find a mentor, anything like that. Get plugged in with your chamber of commerce. If you're running a business that relies on foot traffic or local interaction, that should be your first stop. That should be the first place to meet people. You're gonna meet, and it helps you get out of your comfort zone, helps you reconnect, helps you start talking and engaging like a normal human being, which a lot of us hate doing, but is absolutely crucial to being successful in business. If you have a storefront, if you're breaking into a market and you need people from your local area to back you and support you, please go to your local chamber of commerce. That's the number one place to go to. And you're going to meet people that want to help you. That's the crazy part. They'll go out of their way to figure out how to help you, whether it's fundraising, whether it's figuring out how to write that business plan. Like, go there first, talk to people, engage. Your local community is vital for your success. If you're not like me doing something that's remote and digital in there, it's not going to help me to go there and sit down and talk about podcasting. Vast majority of those people will be like, what the fuck's a podcast? And it won't help me, but it could help you.
no, Chamber of Commerce, absolutely. Because like when I was at that nonprofit for a year, I was going to Chamber of Commerce meetings. I was meeting all these local officials in Palm Beach County and all that. And then moving into like late 2017, I went to go work for the RNC. The RNC opened up the spot. We're heading into the 2018 midterms. I'm pretty much the only guy down there because Palm Beach doesn't have a lot of younger people. And so I get the job. It was a cool experience because I had all the connections from the Chamber of Commerce and all these local races, which I later got involved in. But it was an RNC job. I was going to be the field director for Congressional District 18. I also worked alongside Congressman Matt's team, good people. He's a double amputee EOD vet.
Yep.
I don't agree with all his issues now on certain things, but
fact. Yeah, I'm glad you said it.
he's very pro something that I think that we need to be a little.
Don't say it. Don't say it, because the motherfuckers that run Riverside, they're based out of Israel. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah. But overall, good people. That was that race right there was where I learned a lot. I learned a lot about myself and a lot about other people. So
what was particularly difficult about it?
What was that?
What was particularly difficult? It sounds like it was a difficult race for you.
Yeah. So this gets into like some of the psyche of politics. So Palm Beach now has become, when we used to think of political powerhouses, we were thinking LA, New York, DC. Now Palm Beach has transformed into one of those because it's where Trump lives. It's where Paul Manafort was, all those people. And so I was there during the beginning of that, and I'm meeting, you have like your local political people, like old people that are retired that want to go wave signs. Then you got like the local political people, like the chairman of the party or these various races. And Palm Beach was really interesting because you have all these conspiracy people. Everybody's running against the Anne Frankel or whatever her name is, Democrat. They're not going to win, right? And so I occupied a very unique spot of being the RNC guy working with an incumbent congressman who at the time had expressed some Second Amendment views that a lot of people didn't like. And so I was the establishment guy. So I was dealing with Tea Party people, conspiracy nuts, but I was also trying to build an infrastructure, which I had to reach down and do that inner spirit. And we pulled it off. We won the race. I lent some assistance to some local city council races, which was really cool. What I learned about myself, though, was that my ego got out of control. And this is when I started having to realize I need to get out of politics. So we won the race. I had changed as a person. Like I was like, I got to get out of Palm Beach. Like that whole environment had changed me because it's like, I'm sure you've probably been to Palm Beach or South Florida,
Very, very few times. And every time I'd been there, I couldn't wait to get the fuck out of there.
Yep.
To be completely honest, because I think you're about to touch on it. It is a weird, I don't want to be disparaging towards people, but it doesn't feel like it's a real place with real people. It feels gross. It really does. It absolutely does. If you're driving through the area, buckle up, lock your doors, get the fuck out of there. Like, it's attractive I can understand the appeal when you're young, or if you're looking for power, if you're looking for like glitz and glamour, but like, it feels weird, man. It's a weird vibe, dude. It really is. It really fucking is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like, I look back on those 15 months I was down there, and I was glad that, like, with the RNC, once the election's over, that's the shitty thing about politics when I left. Your job's gone. Like, I didn't have a job at the end of November.
Yeah.
So I had to move. But I was glad of like, look, I came from like not a lot, and then suddenly I'm like one of the go-to political guys in Palm Beach. Like, it's kind of cool. How was I like 26?
That's a lot that can go to your head too, though.
Exactly. And I look back on it now, and it was like,
this episode of Security Halt is brought to you by Dr. Mark Gordon and Millennium Health Store. If you've listened to this show, you know how seriously we take brain health, recovery, and long-term performance, especially for veterans and high performers. Dr. Mark Gordon is one of the leading experts in neuroendocrinology and traumatic brain injury. He's just released his new book, Peptides for Health. Both the medical edition, Volume 1, and a consumer edition, Volume 1, are available right now. The book breaks down how peptide therapy supports brain health, hormonal balance, recovery, and resilience in a way that's practical and evidence-based. You can get 25% off the book by using code PTH25 at checkout, valid through March 15th. And for Dr. Gordon's proprietary health products, Security Halt listeners can receive 10% off if they use the code PHASE2P. Click the link in the episode description to find out more and visit Millennium Health Store today.
I'm glad for the experience. Would I do it again? No, I've already done it, but I'm so thankful for it because I learned that was one of those pivotal points in politics that I went from being a guy that like, I was kind of a mediocre field director to like, I can now become a campaign manager. And that's, after that, I got a job in Kentucky, which, so I moved up to Kentucky for this Navy JAG officer, Andrew English, great guy. I think he now runs a bourbon distillery or whatever, but, he's running for Secretary of State. He's like, I need a campaign manager. I need a military guy. And so I go from Palm Beach. So I go from the president's backyard to Kentucky, which we know who lives there or used to, good old Mitch. So I go from the president's backyard to the Senate Majority Leader's backyard. And it was kind of a cool experience. Like he convinced me to join the Navy Reserve. So I rejoined the Navy Reserve.
Oh, damn. That's some influence right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll re-enlist.
Yep. And yeah, so we didn't win the race. I ended up after that, I went to North Carolina for a bit, worked on a House race, came back, worked for the Kentucky State Party, and then after that, I had a pretty good amount of political experience at that point, and I was just so jaded from it at that point. And I think getting back to like one of your early questions, I felt cool because I had met a lot of cool people. I remember shaking Mitch McConnell's hand, or Eric and Lara Trump came to our office in Palm Beach. Like, that's some cool experiences. But like, at what point am I sacrificing my health, my conscience? I feel like I'm becoming changed. And my thing is like, when I go and talk to these voters that are out, as a field director, like I usually wasn't out in the field. I was usually in my office, but sometimes I would go and knock doors. And people at the end of the day, what they care about is, how do I pay my mortgage? Can my kids go to school in a safe environment? Is there going to be a nation for us when my kids grow up? And the issue that I have with the parties now is like, with everything that we have now, it's like everybody's talking about all these hyper divisive issues. And we already know what's going on the news now. And it's like, what I found annoying was that I'm an American first. I'm a veteran first. I don't give a fuck about Republican loyalty. Like, when I wanted to join the county party, they wanted you to sign a Republican loyalty oath. And it's like, no, I don't pledge allegiance to your party. Fuck you. Like, and this is coming from a guy that did it. And that was the issue I have with politics now, is that all these people that are super involved in it, they've lost connection with the real people out there. And all of these issues, they're so divisive, and it's hyper polarizing in our country.
Dude, you're 100% correct, man, and you've seen it from the inside. You've seen the inner workings. It's disturbing because both sides feed on ignorance. They want to hyper agitize each other. They want their loyal followers to go after each other's throats. I mean, a prime example of it, man. Everybody right now, it's January. I'm seeing January 3rd. I'm kicking myself in the dick right now because this means I have to rub.
Yeah,
I got it. Or February. I'm sorry, January 3rd. I'm like, see, it's what happens when you get old. Now it's February 3rd, so I got to rush and make sure I put this out in time so this doesn't fall to the wayside. But right now, just a couple days ago, they released the latest updates on what's going on with the Epstein list. And I made a joke about one of the individuals out there, friggin' Bill Gates, because his situation in regards to that, it's just, I find comical. You're a married man, you're a multi-billionaire, and you're going to go to an island and do nefarious things, and then you're gonna complain when you get an STD. You're gonna freak out. Of course you're gonna get an STD. You gotta trust the freaking guy that brought you there. Come on, dude. But I made a joke about that, and then somebody underneath the comments like, "Yeah, well now you got to roast Trump too." I'm like, "You're not my fucking boss. First of all, you don't dictate what I post. You're not going to dictate who I go after." And I purposely didn't go after friggin' anybody in the political realm because I don't fucking care to give away my understanding of like what are my values. Like my values should be up front. I'm a Catholic person. I'm a Catholic man. My faith and my family first. Neither of your candidates, neither of the people that are running are people of faith. So what does that tell you? Who do you think I rally behind? Who do you think I support? Certainly not individuals that aren't putting family, the American way of life, and taking care of our American way of life first. Like then I'm not going to support it. I'm very, very strong and my conviction is strong. I believe and I support things that are going to put our country first, not another nation. So there's that. If you're looking to figure out who I align myself with, America and faith first and families first and taking care of our American people, making it so people can afford the American dream again. People should be able to buy a family home when they're moving out of their it shouldn't take you till you're 40 to realize the American dream. Yeah. It shouldn't mean that you have to work your entire lives and just so you can afford an apartment. That's not the American dream. I don't believe in communism. I don't believe in fascism. I don't believe in the idea that you can just wake up one day and say you're one thing when biology tells you another. Read that however you want to fucking read it. That's what I believe in. And I'm sick and tired of people coming in the comments or sending messages wanting you to declare who you support and who you don't support. It's such a weird thing, man. And it's only coming from people that are hyper fixated on their party lines. Both sides. Both sides are pieces of shit, and I can prove it to you mathematically. It's just disgusting, man. It's so fucking insane that you have to tell me who you believe in. You have to tell me who you support. Like, I don't support either one of you. I don't. Like, we've gotten to this point where it's just like, I don't understand, man. I don't understand how people can't just come and sit down and be able to have engaging discourse and agree to disagree, man. Like, it's crazy.
No, it is crazy. And it's like, when you think about the issues plaguing our country and our discourse at this point, when I was in the inside, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of shit that's changed in politics since I left. And so, but like 2015, I remember when I first started, 2013, Obama was president, John Boehner was speaker, and Harry Reid was Senate Majority Leader. And they shut the government down, but it was like, they had civil discourse. Like, as much as I disagree with Obama, he was presidentially, like in a way. Boehner was a decent speaker, but then the 2016 primary pops up, and I can see both sides of it. Like,
yeah,
Trump has done some things I like. There's a lot of things I dislike, but the GOP at that time, they're all thinking, "Oh, Jeb Bush, Marco Rubio, we're gonna elect a president that believes in good old conservative values by the Heritage Foundation." And that was the fucking issue I had, was that I'm working with all these people on the political inside, and don't get me wrong, they're good people. A lot of them are also slimy as shit. Like, and I think actually Pete Hegseth was head of the Conservative Veterans of America when I was at AFP, the sister organization. I think vaguely running into him one time. But the people in the inside, they're so detached. Like, in 2015, people thought, oh, if we talk about cutting taxes and immigration reform and all these reforming Social Security, that will win us the presidential election. What did Trump say? Trump came in and said, no, you're not going to touch Social Security. We're going to basically essentially start halting immigration. And no, we're not cutting, like, he obviously did pass tax reform, but Trump had a completely different message. And it caught the GOP inside or establishment by surprise. And obviously the GOP is completely changed. But the thing is that establishment is still there, and these people are so disconnected from reality. Like, it's just, in the flip side of that, on the voter level, like on social media, and this is why I don't comment on things on social media, is because politics is one of those things where, you're a digital marketing guy. If I hopped on this podcast and said to you, well, this is what you should do for digital marketing, when I don't know anything about it, that's how it is with politics, is that everybody thinks they know about politics, but they don't. They're getting it off of social media, and not to mention the foreign influence, like,
or legacy media too, man. If all the news you're consuming or all the insights you're consuming are coming from Fox, MSNBC, friggin' any of those talking head shows, like, you're misinformed. You're absolutely misinformed, because both sides are just spewing propaganda, man. You have to go find 15 different reports and go to, like, different, entities that aren't even part of the US media to get some actual factual truth and information. Like, and I'll be the first to admit it. The recent publications of the Epstein list and nobody being held accountable has made me lost a lot of faith and trust in our government. I mean, a lot of it was already gone for various reasons, but now it's one of those things where it's like, our government run agencies aren't doing their job, and rather than continuing to blow smoke of our ass, they're just letting us know. It's just now, it's just, well, they're not going to do anything about it. And that's sad. That's a sad state of affairs, where the people fucking you over aren't even going to do the common courtesy of lying to you. They're just saying, fuck it. You won't do anything. And I think, like, now, I was telling my wife, like, everything is so depressing. We haven't had a presidential run. We haven't had a 4 years of at least steady state. It's just been bad. It's just been consistently bad on both sides. And nobody's going to stand up and say, hey, enough's enough. Get rid of it. Bulldoze it down. Bring in a third option. And sadly, that's what I think we need. We need a third option. We need something different. It's just to where we're at right now, in my point of view, and you can tell me how you feel. I feel like things have gotten so out of control, so out of hand, that there's no way to get this back in order. Like it's just you can't put a media spin on it anymore. But when I was growing up, you could platform a movie star like George Clooney, have him go to a red carpet event, talk about whatever leftist ideology he had in store, and people would rally around it and be like, yeah, absolutely. They did the same thing a couple nights ago at the Golden Globes or whatever awards. Yeah. Yeah, nobody gives two fucks. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. You've done too much to now be able to sway. Like, yeah, you have your normal, everyday, average idiots who will pander to that. But I think by and large, the American people have now seen that both sides of the political spectrum are absolutely morally bankrupt, and there's no way of inspiring any hope in the system. Yeah, there's more people advocating today to just not pay taxes to walk away from the system than I've ever seen before. Like, I really truly feel like, if coming from a guy that has spent a good amount of his adult life studying like civil unrest and unconventional warfare, I really feel we're getting close to the point where Americans are just going to say, fuck it, we're out of the system. We're just done. We're checking out. We still have a long way to go before that happens, but I really do think that a vast majority of us have seen, and now we've gotten such a stark reminder of our government not giving two fucks about the American way of life, that it's like, okay, what do we do? Whatever we do, we have to do something drastic. We have to do something. And I think it leaves the door open for a radically different candidate to come in and raise support and go for a run. I don't think we're going to have the same type of Democrat or the same type of Republican run for office in the next election cycle. It's going to be completely different. I think there's enough things have gone wrong, enough things have gone bad, that you can't just give us another puppet. I really hope, at least I hope, because if you prop up Vance as the next shining star, I'm out. I'm out. Yeah. I'm fucking out, dude.
Yeah, I mean, the whole American way of, like, where do I start? Like, and again, I don't have the answers. This is my viewpoint. Like,
no, people listening, this is just us riffing, man. I don't have the answers. Other than, please, dear God, don't run Biden.
No. But no, these candidates, like, I think this is just my thoughts. I think in Congress, members of Congress will always continue to be corrupt.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to have moderates reelected. You'll have your far lefties like AOC elected. You'll have your Thomas Masties and your established guys that'll be reelected. But as far as presidential candidates, like, honestly, I don't know who, like, continuing the trend. Like, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, the left has far left people nominated and then the right starts going towards neo-fascism. Like,
Nick Fuentes,
like, right? Yeah, like, I wouldn't be surprised in the next 15 years,
Dude, I don't know where the fuck we go from here. Sheen, I wish we could end this episode on a good note, but I don't know. All I can say is pray. All I can say is try to connect with real human beings in your local community, really understand each other, really see the human condition as having hope, being built for hope, being built for better days, not giving in. I know it's been a very depressing last few minutes of this segment, but it's there needs to be change. I need to see that there is an opportunity for us to see our way out of this. But I'm older, man. I'm 41. I've seen enough political candidates come and go at this point in my life. And the one thing that I'm focusing on right now, we're no better off right now than we were with the vegetable that was in office a few years ago. I'm I'm starting to just feel like, okay, we need drastic change. And that I think that change comes from more veterans running.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really do feel that way, man. If we could have more veteran representation in all these offices and dare I say a veteran president, maybe we could see some change. At least see some return to like dignity. It's just crazy to me. There's so many things. Like I can't think of a time where there were more conspiracy theories that were proven right in just a matter of a few weeks. Just
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy to think that the guy we were all saying was fucking insane and out of his mind is now walking around with his head held high saying, well, I've been saying it from day one, folks. Um, Alex Jones, gosh, bless your heart, man. You were trying to tell us all along. Here we are.
No, absolutely. So,
Well, Sheen, we do have to wrap it up. We're at the hour mark, but yeah, as you're reflecting your journey, where are you at today? What's next for you, and how do you remain hopeful in this whole political climate?
I think that's a strong closing statement. I think, so after I left politics in 2020, I took a break. I was so jaded with politics. I went and pushed. I became a full time reservist essentially for 4 years. Did 2 back-to-back deployments. I went to Jordan, Bahrain, Djibouti. I was in Djibouti during the Houthi crisis, so we had
Oh,
some fun
man.
with drones and the early warning system going off.
Yeah.
I came back, dealt with some weird transitional points in that year, as any veteran does when they come back from deployment. But because you go from that work and then suddenly you're over in the Horn of Africa, you're dealing with drones and a semi-permissive environment. I learned a lot about myself, and I realized that when I was in politics, I was becoming kind of a crappy person. And I came back and I realized I'm like, the best place for me is not being in that political stuff, becoming jaded. The best place for me is to come back as a veteran with a political experience and be the best person I can be. And I think that was what I walked away from it. So now what I'm doing now is, still recovering from 4 years of deployment, because I basically didn't do anything when I was the guard, and I became a Navy reservist and maxed it out, right? And so, went two back-to-back deployments. You know what that's like. But some cool stuff. Was a CB, was in Mesron small belt units. Went to some cool schools. I learned more tactical stuff from the Navy than I did in the Army. But now I'm a full-time student, slowly applying out to jobs, maybe probably go back to the nonprofit. Probably I've been interviewing for political jobs, but I kind of doubt it, because it's like this. I had this conversation today and then I realized this is why I left politics. Like you get that little itch and you're like, maybe I'll go, and I'm like, I'll just go back to nonprofits, But
see, I spoiled it for you. I spoiled it. I got too dark. We got too dark.
No, it's a good reminder. But no, like you said about veterans, like,
yeah.
Now that I'm officially a veteran after Navy deployments and things like that, like, there's so much more to life than politics. And I one of the things I've been doing lately is staying off social media. And what I think I encourage every veteran to do is, like, follow people like, Denny Caballero. Like, obviously you've got it. You're going to school, business, you name it. Like, maximize your benefits, right? Cut out the bullshit out there, like all that political stuff. It's good to stay informed, but stop commenting on social media. If you're not contributing, you don't know it's the tip of the iceberg. What can you do to be a good person? How can you be a good veteran? And veterans, I think it's such a fucking cheat code. Like, if you can get, maximize your VA compensation benefits for legitimate things. Like, I'm not talking about, don't try to get to 100% because you think you can. If you're only owed 70%, then fuck it, go for 70. But, get the benefits you deserve, use your school money, and be the best citizen that you can be, because America, we need veterans. We need people to run for office. These old boomers that never served in the military, that are happy to send, you to Afghanistan or send me to a routine combat deployment to the Horn of Africa, they wouldn't send their kids. Yep. And so we have the benefits. We need to get in there, and we need to fight and make this place a better country and save a country while we have it. Because, and I don't care what your political beliefs are. Like, if you're a good person and you believe in a good community, push aside that extremist stuff, and how can we meet in the middle?
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better, man. Find a way to agree to disagree. And you'll see that when you meet somebody and you talk with them authentically in person, not throwing, names and shouting at each other, you agree on a lot of things. You'll find more common ground. Guaranteed. your political beliefs should be more nuanced than yes or no and black or white. Take that however you want to take that. Two things can be true. I can have a strong belief that we should have a nation that has defined borders and has an immigration policy that works and is strict and it forces everybody to utilize the process at hand. And I can at the same time say that maybe we don't deport a 6-year-old kid or his family members without taking care of the kid. Like, maybe that's a thing. Maybe we look at every case. Maybe we look at our Hispanic communities and say, hey, these people have been here working. Let's find a way to fucking make them citizens. And then we can look at Somalian communities in Minnesota that have been robbing our nation of billions of tax dollars. And we can say something like, hey, you know what? You're a criminal. Let's deport you. Yeah, I'm biased. I want my Mexican workers, people that have been here, that are contributing to their community, to not be worried about if they're going to be deported tomorrow. Now, if they're criminals, fair game, baby. If they have a job, if they're giving back to the community, yeah, I think that there's enough room in this country that we can make a concession and say, hey, this person came here, they have a family, they have kids, they're working, they're contributing. Let's figure out a way forward. That's a nuanced look, yeah. But I will say, and I have to work on it better. But yeah, I don't have the same feelings towards Somalians. I don't. It's different.
Neither do I. That cost me a job in the future.
It's fucking different. I'm very biased. I want my Hispanics that are working hard to make ends meet, because I grew up with individuals that come from that community. I grew up with individuals that have those same issues. And dare I say that, yeah, I think it's different. And I think we need a nuanced approach. Now, when it comes to people getting shot in the face and individuals and all that stuff, I'll hold my beliefs. It's a personal matter. But I think you can guess where my stance are. I think that individuals need to be better trained, man. If we have better restrictions in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Djibouti, when it comes to, having to control ourselves and go through different levels of approval to be able to take lethal action, I think somebody here in the United States has to have the same thing.
Yeah.
That's just me, man. Sheen, again, thank you for being here, brother. Thank you for what you're doing and for being willing to share your story, dude. Now more than ever, we need our veterans to be able to step up and lead, especially in politics, because I think not all of them, Dan Crenshaw, but some of us are the right person for the job. And I want more of you guys to take ownership of this problem. Be willing to go, be willing to get elected, be willing to lead our nation into some years of prosperity. Please, somebody, get some adults in office. Sheen, thank you for being here, brother. If people want to connect with you, where can they go?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. It's like my name, @Sheen Mayberry. Same with Facebook. If you want to connect, shoot me a Facebook request. I'm always happy to network, or whatever you need. I'm here. If you want to talk or need some questions about how to be a civilian or join, whatever, I'm here. So I'm a normal guy. So
he is. I can attest to you. He's a normal person. Guys, thank you all for tuning in. Sheen, thank you for being here. Do me a favor, the spiel. The episode's almost over. Go to the episode description, click those links. Let us know what you think, but hold your political opinions to yourself, because I want to hear your rants. I don't want you to come at me because I don't support your latest and greatest cool guy. Like I said before, I think both parties are filled with complete fucking idiots. I think it's up to us to change that, with some exceptions to some awesome people out there. Some representatives are leading the fight. Some great people are doing great things out there. But by and large, for a lot of individuals, they fucking suck. And they know it. But let's change that. Maybe you can run. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time. Till then, take care.